So there are lots of reasons why a patent could be helpful. There's lots of reasons why maybe you do need a patent, and it's very personal. So let's go through some of those reasons. Let's just kind of go through the list of reasons why a patent could help you, because it doesn't always, but in your in your circumstance, in your situation, it very well might. Now, I'd say the most common reason that people think they need a patent is the fear that other people are going to steal their invention. Okay. Now, we're going to separate this from all the other reasons why it actually might harm the person. Like if someone stole their invention, it could harm them because they'll lose out in all these other ways. But let's put that aside for a moment. So I think the biggest reason, and the reason most people do that, is just the fear itself. And when I say just the fear itself, I mean just the fact that they would feel terrible if someone stole their invention, whether it actually hurt them or not. Just the notion that that someone stole it, that maybe they could have done more to protect it. It's just that gut feeling of like, oh my God, this is terrible, and I should have done more to protect it, and actually fearing that bad feeling is the reason that I think most people go about patenting their invention. And yeah, I mean, if you really want to avoid feeling bad about it, that could be a reason to spend tens of thousands of dollars, but at least you should be aware of the fact, if it's true that the main reason you're doing it is just to avoid feeling bad about the invention. So just be aware of it if that's your main motivation. But let's look to some of the other reasons. Another reason you need a patent is to generate licensing revenue. So when if you want to have another company pursue the invention and pay you royalties, you're going to need a patent. In order to have that type of arrangement, you need to have some rights that you're allowing them to use, to have access to. So basically, licensing means that they're going to make the product that you have the rights to stop them from making because of your patent, but instead they'll pay you a royalty. So in order to create that type of agreement, in order to have the leverage to create that agreement, you need to have the patent. Another reason is to prevent or reduce competition. So for example, if you're already manufacturing products and you have an important feature for the product that is going to be the thing that your customers want, then that will make you more competitive. And so in this way, it will prevent other people from competing with you, the fact that you have the exclusive to this feature, or at the very least, it makes you more competitive, which leads to another reason. It can help you to acquire or maintain your market share. So maybe you've got the product that's been successful for a long time, and you want to keep your market share among competitors that are making similar products. You come up with a new feature that everyone wants that might help you maintain market share, or it might help you create new market share. Another reason is to increase the value of your company. So if you're growing a business and you don't have IP for that business, it's possible for you to sell the business. I mean, people will say, hey, you're generating $5 million worth of sales, and you've got all these customers. This is a worthwhile business. It's a stable business. We'll buy it for some multiple of the profit that you're making. But if you do own the IP, then you'll be able to get that much more. Because if you don't own the IP, they might be saying, well, we could also make a company like this. We could also make a company that makes paper clips, and it would probably cost us a certain amount of money to get to the level that you're at in terms of building the business and marketing and advertising. And then that would be kind of the measuring point of how much they're willing to pay you for the business. But if you do have the IP, they can't just go about creating another paperclip company, so to speak. They need to go through you. So then they would pay you that much more for the company. Another reason people get patents is because investors want it. Investors are going to look toward what IP you have to see if they ought to be investing in your company. They want to know that you've protected the IP. They want to know that you've safeguarded whatever investment that they're making because you have the rights to it. Another reason is for business credibility and for marketing. just saying that if you are launching a product and you say we've got multiple patents on the product, that's something that tends to impress people, and people say, "Oh, like that's a cool product," and it's obviously if they have patents on it, there's something cool about it. That might be true or might not be true, but this is part of the public perception of patents, is that they think that there's extra value there. And you'll see many products advertised in this way because it works. People do tend to have a perception like that, that when something has patents, when it's patented, that it has more value. Um, so it could increase the credibility of your business. It could also increase your personal credibility. So I know a lot of engineers that that when they're looking for employment, they're looking for bigger and better opportunities for engineering or in the tech industry. The fact that they have several patents, they consider to increase their personal credibility. It shows that they have created things that were groundbreaking and had enough value that someone was willing to pursue a patent for. So it could be useful, again, for your personal credibility. Um, Another cool reason to go about and getting a patent is for the experience of it. Now, a lot of times when people are pursuing an invention, they think that their first invention is going to hit. Their first invention is going to be the thing that gets them the success that they've always been looking for, that they've been dreaming about. Um, Most of the successful inventors I've seen, it wasn't their first invention. Maybe it was their third invention. But if they didn't go through the process for the first invention, they never would have pursued that third one, which was the one which was the big success. So one of the great reasons that people pursue patenting is for the experience of it, for the sake of those later inventions. Of course, I think that if you're going to do this, you want to do it in a sustainable way. And by sustainable, I mean, you do it in a way that allows you to pursue that second and third invention. So you don't spend all your money on the first one, because that's not sustainable. Sustainable could be kind of participating in the game in a way that leaves you more able to participate. So you're playing the game of inventions. If you do it in a way that isn't kind of putting all of your eggs in one basket, then that allows you to more often, or to kind of again continue to participate in pursuing inventions. So again, for the experience, a lot of times people pursue a patent because someone told them to do it, right? I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. Like, you have an invention and everybody's telling you, you've got to patent that, you've got to patent that, you've got to patent that. And I think that that's a big driving force between why people often pursue a patent. And I think you ought to look beyond that reason, though. So if the main reason you're going for this is because everyone's telling you, you got to do this, maybe look to see if some of the other reasons apply. If there is a way in which it would benefit you other than that. Another really common reason that people apply for a patent, and this is a mistake, I'll tell you straight out, and then I'll explain why, is people say, well, I want to patent it so that I make sure that I don't infringe on anyone else's patent. And that's a great thought, but it's just not true. You getting a patent doesn't mean that you're not infringing someone else's patent. A lot of times when you're pursuing an invention, there are a lot of things out there already, and you think that if I get a patent, then that means the patent office is saying I'm different enough to get a patent. It must also mean that I'm different enough that I'm not infringing anyone's patent. It just doesn't work that way. It is possible to get a patent and to also be infringing someone else's patent at the same time. So keep that in mind. I could explain that in more detail, and I think there are other videos where I have explained that, how that works with patent infringement versus patentability, but that's not a good reason to get a patent. Now, just a few reasons why not to patent your idea. One reason not to get a patent is when the technology is just moving so quickly. It's moving so quickly that the product is going to quickly be obsolete. So by the time you get a patent in a year or two, the market won't even exist for the product anymore. That's a good reason not to get a patent. But if you're wrong and the invention actually has a lot of staying power, where 5 years later people are still interested in this product, then you might be kicking yourself if you thought it was just going to be a kind of like a quick ride with the product and you didn't patent it. Another good reason not to do a patent is because there's better use of your resources elsewhere. Now, this is something you always want to consider anytime you're starting a business around a product, is that as an entrepreneur, the most limited thing you tend to have is resources, is money resources. And so sometimes with certain products, um, it might not pay to do the patent because your money is needed more desperately in other areas like marketing, advertising, design, etc. And while it's a decision you want to make very carefully to sacrifice um, protecting it to not protect it, you want to make sure at the very least that whatever you do with patenting doesn't choke off your other efforts to pursue the product. So, basically you want to consider whether there's better use of your resources in developing your business. And then lastly, one of the reasons you might not want to file a patent or do a patent is because the market is too small. Like maybe you invented an adaptation for a woodworking tool, a tool that's used by people that like home hobbyists that work with wood. Um, and if you really crunch the numbers, you saw that the total market for this product is like $25,000. So if you sold to kind of all of the people that would be interested in this type of tool, it's like that's the extent of what you might be able to create. So then it doesn't make sense spending maybe $10,000-15,000 on a patent if the total market for your product is only 25,000. So I'd say a good reason not to do a patent is when the market for the product is simply too small. But you want to take a close look at this again before you make that assessment. So all in all, that covers the essential elements of kind of reasons why people would do a patent, or whether they need a patent, or whether a patent would help them. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We do this every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can click the link in the post to be invited to join us on the Zoom, so you could then ask me anything about patents and trademarks.